His first issue is 0. Issue number 1 is his fifth version. No, it's his fifth one. Issue number 1 is his 5th release.
Oh no.
If I had a comic, I'd never end it like that.
The scientific term is he got hit in the head by too many horseshoes.
Chris finished Sonichu number 0, the first proper edition of the comic book series, complete with nonsensical plots and nightmarishly ugly artwork that Chris Chan later became synonymous with. He also begins drawing new Sonichu releases during his public outings for his love quest, and is even noticed by someone who gives probably one of the best summaries of Chris Chan's essence at this point in their blog post. So Sonichu returned to Alderman today. I'm not sure what to make of him. He sits in his chair and draws his Sonichu comics, harmless I assume, yet I feel like he knows he's different. He knows that the world rushing in front of him is not his own. Surrounded by the brightest students in America, whatever that means, he sits in his chair and draws, 23 years old. I'm not sure he even graduated high school. In front of him, texts of Plato, Faulkner, God, and Kleist swirl. Does he have the capacity to understand these works? Whether he can or not, I'm not sure, but there is something in his eyes that realizes that there is a level of understanding and thought that he is unable to partake in. As he slumps lower and lower in his chair, with each student he eyes reading or holding a book, he falls into himself, into the markers and colors on the page in front of him. He seems intelligent enough to understand that he does not understand, and that is the hardest part of all.
Sonichu, Moz. Sonichu. I don't know how Moz was so unfamiliar with Chris Chan. Now look at him, he's sitting here being like, oh no, this is not fucking good.
I know a little bit of the ending, which is not good.
I still know nothing. I'm just waiting for something big.
This is so fucked. This could actually be like a proper Netflix fucking...
But even just like, if you end it right here, you go, this is just what the dude does, you'd be like, well, that's fucked.
Yeah, you do, but you'd be like...
Forrest Gump if he was real.
Never thought I'd see Chris be described this poetically in my life. I suppose there's a first time for everything. Amidst these sightings, Chris decides to go to the Mid-Atlantic Anime Convention, where he took a few printed copies of Sonichu number 0 and distributed them to whoever would accept. As his love quest sinks to new lows, Chris gets kicked out from the local McDonald's, where he's also been conducting his attraction sign experiments. I'll spare you from hearing the diary entry in its full extent, but the Managerks, Chris's nickname for the managers, started calling him
Managerks!
Chris for loitering in their establishment. In later Sonichu episodes, the manager received in-universe stand-ins. One of them was named Married Senor Comic, an alias which is completely unexplainable to anyone with a functioning brain, and for no apparent reason, had robot arms and legs. After Married Senor, Chris's creativity must have run out since the other one was just distinctly referred to as Black Fat Jerk, on account of the fact that, to Chris, that's all he really was. If his diary entry is anything to go by, Chris began explaining his situation to them in song and dance. When one of the managers asked Chris to just have a normal conversation with him, he sat silent for a minute until he came up with possibly the most schizophrenic own ever uttered. I do not speak to any man other than myself, because they have all taken the pretty girls, leaving me with none. What a...
They stole his bitches.
They stole his bitches.
Everyone.
That's fucked up.
Man.
They stole his bitches.
And last but not least, Curse Ye Hame Ha's. What's a Curse Ye Hame Ha, you may ask? Well, luckily for us, Chris has demonstrated a video.
Curse Ye Hame Ha!
Months later, a similar situation played out at Target, as the managers called the cops on Chris. He claims that, as he was about to give them a prepared speech, 5 cops chased him down, pulled his pants, handcuffed his wrist.
I could imagine him doing that to like a mall security guard or something like that.
When
like,
he got banned.
while he's there, like,
yeah.
in public.
And legs and hogtied him. After being briefly taken to county jail, Chris was given a court date for disorderly conduct and trespassing. Later on, he dramatized the situation in a Sonichu comic, as he always did. Fortunately for Chris, after 2 hearings, he was given a $30 fine and had to pay $56 in costs. Within a week of the Target fiasco, he was once again arrested for following too close while driving. And yes, at this point, he was a licensed driver, if you can believe it. After his suspension from college was lifted and he started regularly interacting with other people his age again, things relaxed a bit for a while as advances were made in the love quest. After bidding goodbye to Anna, who moved to Utah, Chris makes a few more attempts at finding a date over MySpace messages, mostly to no avail. The first one was Jelena, who turned him down because he seemed too desperate. Then came Lindsay, who consistently rescheduled her dates over the course of 2 months in order to never actually have to see Chris in real life. Overall, things seemed dire for our brave hero. But it was around this time that he began to rouse online attention, with a thread on a Sega forum centered around Sonichu popping up. Earlier that year, YouTube was created, so the golden age of Chris Chan was at the gates. Meanwhile, he was getting some traction in his emails. Though his application to become an official Nintendo game tester was rejected, Chris got into regular correspondence with a girl named Megan. On the 1st of November, Megan emailed Chris asking him to buy an episode of Tintin on eBay for her. They had already met in person before in a video game convention a year prior, but it wasn't until these emails at the tail end of 2005 that Chris grew obsessed with her. Though she clarified from the get-go that she wasn't interested in Chris, or anyone for that matter, in a romantic way, this didn't deter Chris, who clearly saw her as...
A dude like him would just obsess. As soon as he gets any form of interest from any girl ever, it would be like he'd like instantly fall in love with her. He'd be infatuated. So, oh man, if these girls had half a brain, if they weren't crazy themselves in some way, they should. He'd recognize that surely.
Pretty
Or
hard.
maybe they all get to know him and then go, "Oh, fuck that."
It wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me if that other chick did move states because of his obsession.
I would leave.
Anyone would
Crimson
fucking leave.
with the tenor. Thank you very much. Blabs. Blabs.
I was
Thank
too
you.
busy coughing. God, my week has been utterly miserable, but listening to this insanity through my earbuds at work has made it better. Happy birthday, Muzza, and to your uncle too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Crimson. Listen, as bad, it doesn't matter how bad your week's been. Chris Chan's has been worse.
as a love interest and continued to invite her on dates. To date, Megan was probably the person who had been the nicest and most patient with Chris. 2006 marked a significant rise in Chris buying the most random, useless garbage from eBay, from My Little Pony and Sailor Moon paraphernalia to German World War II photos.
I was gonna say, what the fuck? Hold up.
So let's just listen to that fucking collection again.
Yeah.
Useless garbage from eBay, from My Little Pony and Sailor Moon paraphernalia to German World War II photos.
What the fuck?
Listen, I'm a Sailor Moon guy, but when you look at the shit that's on that list, you're like, oh, that's not normal.
Come on, bro.
And My Little Pony, like, wow.
My Little Pony and just, you know, some fucking SS uniforms.
Apparently, all of the purchases were influenced by Megan's interests. Based on their emails, we know that Megan was into MLP,
So
Sailor
she's a
Moon,
fucking
and for some
crazy-
mysterious reason, Wehrmacht soldiers from World War II. Considering how desperate Chris was to get
Obsessed. He gets obsessed.
Look,
Yeah.
a girlfriend,
this
it's
part.
surprising he didn't start LARPing as a novelty to impress her. Eventually, he got her a Nintendo DS, which she turned down due to the fact that she already had
Nice.
one she bought herself. While Chris was busy spinning his wheels into the mud during his
That's how
love
you
quest
pull
by chasing
bitches
after an
in the early
uninterested Megan,
2000s.
he managed to graduate from community college, getting a degree in computer-aided drafting and design. Over time, Chris began wearing her down, continually being pushy about wanting to date her despite her repeatedly saying she wasn't interested. Most likely because of this, Megan severely limited the amount of times they met up in real life to once a week. And even then, Chris would take that as an opportunity to be as handsy as possible, which she obviously wasn't okay with. After months of this dynamic
Why did you
going
put it
back
like
and forth,
that?
Chris overstepped a few boundaries when he started complaining about Megan being friendly with other guys. This was grating for her since not only were they not dating, but she was also not interested in the guys Chris was paranoid about. This caused her to email him in a slightly stricter tone, saying, I don't want to have to tell you again or I might get really angry, because you know unwanted remarks or advances to a girl is sexual harassment, and I don't take that lightly, okay? So can you understand now? Anyway, sometimes I get the feeling that you copy me to get me to like you. Like Sailor Moon, for example. The only Sailor Moon thing you had was that adult video, and since I told you how much I love
the
she's
adult
catching on.
video. The adult video of Sailor Moon.
How many Sailor Moon adult videos have you watched, Lethal?
One.
it, then you
Yeah,
start
yeah.
getting into it. Kind of like My
It's
Little
the
Christian
Pony.
same
gave it to
one.
him.
It's
Yeah,
the
Christian.
same
Yeah,
They
Christian
actually watch
gave
it
to him.
together.
Yeah,
Me and
him
my
and
boy
Christian
Chris.
every Tuesday.
That kind of thing really annoys me. You make it sound like I have to get your approval to be that kind of friendly to someone. And I felt rather disappointed about those remarks. And you already know I don't love you, so why do you make yourself unhappy by holding grudges and trying so hard to win me over? So please, if you really want to make me happy, please let me make my own decisions and figure out my own life, okay? Besides, even if I had a boyfriend, what makes you think I'll stop being friends with you? I'm not the kind of person who'd say, well, I have a boyfriend now, so see ya. No, I'm not the kind of bitchy girl. You know I haven't talked to this person in a year. I'm not really wanting to get together with him either. Boyfriends aren't for me. Don't want them, don't need them. However, I can't say I like how much you call him a lucky jerk. Why is he a jerk? Why do you call all guys that? Because they take all the pretty girls, leaving you none to choose from? Hate to be blunt, but that's a pathetic way to think. You don't go to a mall and buy a girlfriend. The thing is, guys didn't take all the girls. The girls just didn't choose you. Quit blaming other men. Personally, I think you shouldn't be so picky about what they look like. All you say is you want a pretty girl. Well, it's the inside that counts. After all, a pretty girl can have the personality of Satan. Meanwhile, an ugly girl may have a heart of gold, but you wouldn't even give a second look, would you? I often wonder, if I was an ugly girl, you wouldn't even come near me, would you? Little did poor Megan know that the powers of the Chaos Emeralds render Chris impervious to reality checks of any nature.
That's one way to sum it up.
Damn.
What the
While this drama
fuck
ensued,
is
Chris
that?
never stopped cranking out new issues of Sonichu, all containing the same themes recycled over and over again, such as Sonichu's enemies always being conspicuously black, the text bubbles being randomly placed on the page with no discernible reading order, Chris vicariously defeating his real-life opponents such as Mary Lee Wall,
There's no reading order. He just puts the fucking pictures in the
Puts the
page.
images out.
There's just no fucking reading order. It's just wherever it fits.
You've got to
Here's
put
the
it
guy who's
together.
Sarah.
You've got to insert
gotta
that
put it
image
together
somewhere in the
yourself.
timeline.
So
Fucking
Sonichu episode
Christian.
6, it starts with the end.
so on and so forth. What was noticeable in the later episodes was that, progressively, Sonichu became a secondary character in his own comic, with the protagonist becoming Chris himself. Sonichu's function was primarily to serve and protect Chris, and every once in a while symbolically represent who he wanted to be. Additionally, other than real-life people, Chris also added a character called Crystal Weston Chandler, the female version of himself that seems to simultaneously fulfill the ideal role of the mom, the ideal daughter, the ideal sister, and the ideal girlfriend. The fact that this guy wasn't regularly seeing a therapist is a travesty, to be honest. As Megan put a healthy amount of distance between herself and Chris, his eBay purchases started drifting towards the salacious. Items include Bootylicious Love Doll, Pearl Beaded Prolon Ring, Nina Hartley's Guide to Sex Toys, and my personal favorite.
Nina Hartley!
Wow.
She's an old school porn star.
Oh, no.
Space nuts.
It's a guide to sex toys, though.
Oh, this is great.
Wow.
Favorite Space Nuts.